Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. I'm continuing my videos on Agile series. I'm going to do a video on Scrum artifacts today. Okay, so we have seen brief clinical view about Scrum and Scrum roles in my previous videos. Today we're going to talk about Scrum artifacts. Right, so I took this slide from Scrum guide itself. Scrum artifacts represent work or value. Right, it's clinically it represents value. They are designed to maximize the transparency of key information. Every artifact contains a commitment. Alright, what is the commitment of each artifact? There are three artifacts defined by Scrum Guide. The first one is the product backlog. The commitment is a product goal. The second one is a sprint backlog. The commitment is a sprint goal. The third one is the increment. So it's nothing but working software or minimum viable product, whatever you call that. The commitment is definition of done. So these commitments, right, the product goal and sprint goal and definition of done exist to reinforce empiricism and Scrum values for the Scrum team and their stakeholders. Right, so whatever the critical words and vocabulary I try to highlight in yellow, it's very important to understand these critical words like value, maximizing the transparency. Every artifact contains a commitment, right? Product goal, sprint goal, DOD, all these are commitments, and it reinforces the empiricism and Scrum values, right? I already told you Scrum is a behavior, right? So this is a pictorial representation of Scrum artifacts, product backlog, sprint backlog, and the working software, right? In combination, it's producing a shipping software. Let's start with the product backlog first. What is a product backlog? It's a single prioritized list, right? It is a single prioritized list. You cannot have multiple list to that. So everybody should refer only one product backlog. You can use tools like Jira or Azure DevOps or Digital.ai to maintain the product backlog, right? It should be a single list from the product owner. The product owner is accountable for that. Anyone can add items. Anyone should be given access liberty to add as many items as possible. Customer can add it, stakeholders can add it, sponsors can add it, your team members can add it, Scrum Master can add it. Right? The product owner is accountable, it is continuously evolves. Right? So you need to understand the key things. It's a single list, anyone can add it, PO is accountable, it is continuously living document. Right? So what is in it for a product owner or team? The product backlog is based on deep principles. What is a deep principle? Detailed appropriately, estimated, emerging one, that's called emergent, and prioritized. Right? Prioritized nothing but ranked or ordered. So what is it detailed appropriately? The lower order items are, it's less detailed in nature. So when your backlog items are nearing to the sprint, those are called high ordered items. These need to be clearer, more detailed, and it carries higher value. Right? That's the reason it's called detailed appropriately. Right? So the detailness between Epic and user story differs. Epic might have less details, less estimatable ideas, right? Or less prioritized, whatever it is. But when it becomes an user story, it gets become more detailed. It has more value to it. It should be more clearer, right? So that is the reason it is, following a deep principle. Every product owner should follow this deep principle. The product backlog need to be detailed appropriately. It should be estimated, by the team, and it's an emerging one, continuously evolving one. It should be prioritized. That's very important. We'll discuss about the different prioritization techniques in upcoming, slides. What is the difference between the product roadmap and backlog? Roadmap are strategic thing. Audience are executives. The time frame is 3 months. Every 3 months you try to update it actually, right? Product roadmap contains themes, strategic themes and epics, outcomes or goals. But product backlog talks about task level user stories and effects, primarily for product and development teams. conveys the tactical steps. It is getting, time frame is every 2 sprints or every release you're talking about, right? I told you about prioritization techniques, right? It's one of the key in deep principle, right? In deep principle, P is for prioritization. What are the different ways a product owner look at the prioritization? You can create a map of urgency versus importance. Focus on high important and high urgent items, and then go with the high important items and less urgent ones, and then you follow with not important but high urgent ones. You can remove that items are not important and not urgent ones because they are hardly needed by any customers. Alright. The second principle is Moscow. Moscow means must have, should have, could have, and would have. Right? What should be having a must have item? It should be part of MEP, non-negotiables, not legal without it, unsafe without it. Without this project is not viable. That's called must have items. Should have items are important but not vital. Maybe painful if you leave it. Right? Could have items are desirable, nice to have, won't have. Won't have items are nothing, which you don't want to include. Things. So what is that? You need to ensure that every things are loaded. 100% total effort is loaded between must, should have, and could have item. You can load 60% of your sprint with the must have items, and another 20% with should have items, another 20% for contingency with the could have items. This is could be the strategy of allocating or building your sprint backlog or product backlogs. Right. Another prioritization technique is evaluating your risk and business value. Try to identify high risk and high business value items and prioritize those first. And the second priority item should go to high business value and low risk items. The third priority should go to low business value and low risk. And you don't need to work on the low business value and high risk items. That's a last priority. So we can use this grid also. Comparing the risk and business value, right? You always take high risk item and high business value, the top priority. You can look at another options like effort and value wise, right? High value, less effort item you can pick up sooner. High value, high effort item you can pick up later than that, right? So these are the different prioritization techniques product owner can use it, right? So the second Scrum artifact is a sprint backlog, right? When is the sprint backlog is created? Product backlog, creates number of it's the next step is the product backlog. Product backlog during the sprint planning meeting, it's becoming a sprint backlog, right? The sprint backlog is the commitment from the development team to create an incremental value within that sprint. Sprint backlog is a subset of the product backlog. Product backlog is a subset of the product roadmap. Product roadmap might contain epics, themes, and features. Product backlog will contain your features and user stories. Right? Sprint backlog might contain user stories and tasks to it. Right? So sprint backlog is created is in sprint planning meeting where the team is committing and an incremental value to that. What's the difference between the product backlog and sprint backlog? Right? Anything that needed to accomplish the product vision. Here is anything needed to fulfill the sprint goal. We discussed that commitment, right? Product backlog commitment is product goal. Sprint backlog commitment is the sprint goal. Who wants it? Product owner wants the product backlog. But sprint backlog is owned by the development team. Right? Everyone contributes to the product backlog, but only development team contributes to the sprint backlog. Product backlog refinement meeting is to refine the product backlog. Sprint planning meeting is to refine the sprint backlog item. So it is good to have both refinement meetings. It is mandatory to have a sprint planning meeting. It is good to have that product grooming sessions. Most of the well-run agile teams, they are using product grooming as a separate ceremony. So you can include that very well. The final artifact is an increment, which is a working software. Right? What is a commitment is a definition of that. An increment is a concrete stepping stone towards the product goal. See, every sprint goal adds a stepping stone to the product goal. Every increment must be useful in order to provide value. That's where the product owner plays a very important role, prioritizing using Moscow or any other kind of techniques. Right? The commitment is a definition of done. It's a formal description of state of increment when it meets the quality measures. Right? Quality measures required for the product. What are the quality measures? I given some example here. Unit test passed, code reviewed, acceptance criteria is met, function test passed, non-functional requirements are met, the product owner accepts the user story. You can include the users also accepting the user stories. So every team has their own definition of done. Every industry, every company has a different set of definition of done, which suits their project context, product context, right? So definition of done is created by the team, by themselves, and agreed upon with product owners, scrum master, and other stakeholders. Right, so we discussed about how the product backlog and sprint backlog and product increment, which is the essential part of Scrum artifacts, which is helping them to create shipping software, right? So with that, I would like to conclude this video. I hope you got a beautiful brief idea about what are the ingredients of Scrum artifacts. So I look for your comments and in the description that what are the other videos you're looking at. So I'll continue to do the videos in Agile series. I will continue to do the videos in PMBOK and PMP areas. So thanks for time. Thanks for patient listening. Bye bye. See you tomorrow.